and welcome to the Boot Camp for Your Mind podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Werdeman, certified holistic life and mindset coach. What's happening, friends? I am so excited for today's topic. It is probably one of the most things that I get super amped up and just could go on and on about this topic, which is neuroplasticity. And it sounds super fancy if you don't know what it is, but it's actually really, really cool. And I was grateful enough to be able to give this presentation for a women's group this past week. So I thought it was perfect timing to jump on here and talk to you guys about neuroplasticity and how you can use it to help you break old patterns and build healthy new ones. So what is neuroplasticity anyway? Neuroplasticity, if you think about it, kind of in a nutshell, is your ability to rewire your brain. So imagine your brain like a giant, living switchboard. Neuroplasticity is the brain's superpower. It means you can change your brain, adapt, and rewire it. And you can do it not just when you're young, but at any stage in your life. I don't know if you've ever heard someone say, like, I'm just wired like that, or maybe you've said it or thought it, which there is a degree of truth to that. But at the same time, it's not always true. A lot of times we think the way we act, the way we think is just, that's how we're wired. And yes, maybe it is, but the cool thing is using neuroplasticity, you can rewire your brain. If you're somebody that gets stuck in negative thought patterns, thought loops that just kind of go on and on, maybe you have a habit that you wish you can break that you just haven't been able to break yet. You're not stuck in those patterns. The good news is you can change those patterns regardless of how old you are. And I know you've probably heard me say on this podcast before, we have about 70,000 thoughts a day. Do you know that close to 85% of those thoughts are the same thing that we thought the day before? Like, for real. And part of that is because as powerful and as beautiful and knowledgeable, like, just our brains are amazing, but they also like to be lazy. It's why we have so many things, whether it's, think about like even brushing your teeth or drinking a glass of water, or like I said, the thoughts that you think over and over again, they happen from a subconscious level. And the more you repeat the same thing over and over again, your brain doesn't have to do a lot of work to try to figure it out. It literally just happens automatically. And I don't know if you've ever had this happen to you. It has happened to me multiple times where, if I used to go to Wellesley every single day. So I drove the same way for so many years that sometimes I'd get there and I'd be like, oh my God, I don't even remember taking this exit or taking that right or taking that left. And it's because you just do it because you've done it so many times. So I'm sure you can relate to that. And that's how our brains create these habits, because of consistencies that we do over and over again. And a habit, as we all kind of know, but it's a routine or a behavior performed regularly and in many cases automatically. And that's by the author of The Power of a Habit, Charles Duhigg. And I don't even know how to pronounce his name. I probably just butchered that. But anyway, yeah, so the exciting thing about that is when you do the same thing over and over again, think of, let's say, being like on the outside of like a forest, right? You have to get to the other side of the forest, and then you take a path. The more you take that path just becomes deeper and deeper and deeper ingrained. And that's exactly what is happening in our brains when we do the same thing over and over again. You are creating a pathway, a neural pathway, so that your brain can then do that same thing over and over again without actually thinking about it. So it's saving itself energy, which again is fantastic. Our brains are just these amazing, amazing things that we have. And it's doing it for our own good. But at the same time, it can keep us stuck if we don't know that we can actually rewire and create new neural pathways. So the first part of this is to notice, let's say if you have a habit that you're looking to break, this habit could be anything from negative thinking to maybe it's overeating or just eating randomly at a certain time of the day where you're really not hungry. Maybe it's over drinking. Maybe it's turning to that glass of wine when it's 5 o'clock or whatever it is. Think of something that you have in your life that you wish you could change. Or you know what? Even if there's something that you wish you could start, maybe there is a new goal you have or a new pattern that you want to create and you just haven't really figured that out. What we look at first is kind of what's called a habit loop. So you have a cue, a routine, and an award. So to give you an example, let's say that there's a habit that you're doing that you're just like, why can't I stop this? I just don't want this in my life anymore. It's not aligning with maybe where you want to go. So the cue, which is the trigger, maybe it's stress. When you're stressed out, do you eat? Do you drink? Do you do something else? Are you bored? When you're bored, do you just randomly scroll on your phone? Maybe you don't want to randomly scroll anymore and you're trying to cut back on that. The time of day, is it 5 o'clock and you're pouring a drink? And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with any of these things, but if you have something that you're doing that is not aligned with what I have a puppy next to me and he's making the cutest little noises. Hi, Bradley. If it's not aligned with where you want to go or what you want to create in your life, first, just be aware of what the cue is. What is your trigger? Is it stress? Is it an emotion? Is it boredom? Is it the time of day? Is it being with a certain person? Then the next part of the habit loop is the routine. So this is the action or the behavior, the scrolling, the snacking, the drinking, whatever the action is. Then there's the reward, the payoff. So are you getting relief out of this? Are you getting pleasure? Is it a distraction? Like if you're bored and then you find yourself aimlessly 45 minutes later, you're like, oh my God, I just was seriously going through Facebook or Instagram or whatever. And it distracted me from all the things that I think I have to do. So the reward there was a distraction. So just take note, the cue, which is the trigger, whether it's emotion, time of day, whatever. Then you have the routine. So that's the behavior that you're trying to want to change. Like I had a woman, I was helping her with the hitting snooze button. So the trigger was the alarm went off, right? And her routine was hitting the snooze button. The reward was she didn't have to get up, but she was always running late. She was always kind of a little bit overtired. And then she'd be stressed out getting ready for work. So the routine that she wanted to change was literally just not hitting the snooze button anymore. And I know that sounds super easy and super basic, but if you've done that for years, it's going to be hard to change. So change can be hard. Notice I say can. It doesn't have to be hard, because if we think something has to be hard, guess what we're not going to do? We're not going to change. We don't necessarily go after things that are hard to do. Sometimes, obviously, we do, and we like to challenge ourselves, but I think you know what I mean. So think of what habit loop you may have in your life that you are hoping to change. Because again, that habit loop is just that neuro pathway. It is that path in the forest that is now so ingrained because you've done it so many times, and your brain doesn't have to think about it. It just does it because repetition. So why does understanding your habit loop matter? You cannot change what you do not notice, right? You can't change something if you don't notice first. Notice what the cue is, which is your trigger. Notice what the behavior is, and what reward or what pleasure are you getting from it in that moment. Are you, maybe the distraction is you're not doing your housework or the laundry or whatever, but just really notice it. Become aware. Being aware is the first step in making a change and rewiring and creating a new pathway. And be curious. So the next thing I would say is you have the awareness now. Be curious with yourself. And what I mean by curious is, okay, so now you know, this is my prompt, this is what I do, this is what I feel. When I say be curious, what are you trying to avoid? Are you trying to avoid a feeling? What is it that this behavior is trying to tell you? I think about, if you go to grab a drink because it's the end of the day and it's stressed out. So that drink is going to give me in the moment a little bit of a reward because it's like, oh, okay. There are many other ways that you can handle stress. And I'm just using drinking because I'm thinking of my own self. But just getting curious as to what it is that you're hoping to gain from this habit. And be kind to yourself. Like, be very, very kind and gracious, because you can't make changes when you're berating yourself. Like, oh my God, I'm so stupid. I did this again. What is wrong with me? Compassion is the third part of this. So when you become aware, then you become curious about it. Be compassionate with yourself. There's no judgment. Your brain is literally just trying to help you cope with something. So whether it's boredom or stress, or anxiety, or whatever, this behavior, because you've done it so many times, your brain is doing this to keep you from feeling a certain way. So no judgment. Just try to look at it, be curious, and be like, oh, okay. So when you can do that, then you can stop and say, like, okay, what do I want to create? Like, I know that these feelings are going to come up, right? We all have negative emotions that come up daily, multiple times a day. But what's a new habit that you want to create? Just think about that. So once you have a new habit or a new action that you'd like to create, so I'll use the 5 o'clock, let's say, end of the day drink. And who knows? I mean, it doesn't have to be 5 o'clock. It could be 7 or whatever time. But if you're someone that has found themselves repeating this pattern over and over again, think to yourself, what's a new pattern? Because the one thing about this is when you are trying to change, you have to, don't void out the pattern, replace it. Our brains don't like voids. So when you remove a pattern from your life, you have to replace it, because that's just how our brains work. So think of what it is that you can replace and repeat it daily. And it doesn't have to be huge. In fact, really, really, really start small. I can't stress that enough, because when you are creating a habit, when you try to change too fast, too quick, more likely than not, it doesn't last. This is exactly what happens when people try to make these huge New Year's resolutions. A lot of times it's just too much. And we all know how New Year's resolutions go. Not all of them, but a lot of them. So the idea is repeat it daily, start small, and then reinforce it with a positive emotion. So this can be literally like high-fiving yourself, like just being like, yes. Our brains love to be rewarded. They just do. So even the smallest thing, if you, let's say you wanted to start to walk a mile at the end of the day rather than scrolling, right? Simply putting on your sneakers, be like, yeah, I put on my sneakers. It sounds silly, but legit, like, you took the first step and it was very small. You can just do that. So I'll talk real quick here about habit stacking. But let's say, for example, this is your thing. You want to, instead of pouring a drink or scrolling, and you have, half an hour to kill, and if you're bored, rather than being distracted from things that you have to do, but you have this time, and you're going to walk through your front door, just put your sneakers right by the front door, and then just put them on. And that's it. Just set that expectation for yourself. Literally just putting on your sneakers. And when you do, be like, yeah, I did it. I put my sneakers on. Then what's going to happen is when you start to celebrate and feel good about these tiny, tiny steps, you're then going to start to automatically take the next step. So if that means you're just going to now put your sneakers on, then you're going to walk to the end of the driveway. Heck, maybe it's just getting your mail. Then every time you celebrate those little tiny things, they add up. And what you're doing is subconsciously creating new neuro pathways, which is super cool because the more you do it, the more repetition, the more reward, the more positive emotion you're creating, your brain is going to want to do it. And then you're going to consistently do it without even thinking about it. Just like pouring a glass of water and drinking, just like brushing your teeth. Do you think about every single tooth while you're brushing your teeth? A lot of times I brush my teeth while I'm doing other things. Like, because I've brushed my teeth for so long, I don't have to really think about it. You know what I mean? So the more, when I think about the teeth brushing, when we're little, and if you have kids, you might notice, like, when you learn to brush your teeth, you were rewarded. Or like, good job, like you brushed your teeth. And that just became so ingrained, right? So when you can reward yourself for doing the littlest things, they're going to start to become bigger things. So I think it's so important to not skip the reward part. And the next part of this, as you're going through this process, as you're creating these new neural pathways, I want you to come up with at least one, but you could do as many as you wanted, a positive I am statement. So maybe it's, I am capable. I am growing every day. I'm resilient. Whatever feels good to you, put it on a sticky note. Put it wherever you can see it as many times a day as possible. I have, they're on my phone. They're actually notifications. And I don't like notifications on my phone. I don't get my text messages. I just check them every once in a while, like that kind of stuff. But the notifications I do have, they pop up multiple times a day with my I am statement. Because again, just like the habits, the more repetitive you are, and you do this over and over again, subconsciously, you're creating an identity of I am what. And be mindful of, like, throughout the day when you hear yourself saying other I am statements, like a lot of times we have a lot of negative I am statements. So just be cognizant of that and, really like listen to how you're talking to yourself, because the more you can create these positive I am statements, your brain is going to start to think them automatically, right? They're going to be ingrained in your subconscious. So as many times a day, as many sticky notes from where you frequent, whether it's your bedroom, your bathroom, your office, your kitchen, whatever, put them there. And then set, whether it's timers or notifications on your phone to go off at certain times with your I am statement. Write it down if you want to. Whatever it's going to take that's easy for you. Again, this shouldn't be something that is difficult. It should be the habit stacking on something that you already do. So, you know what? It could be as easy as getting out of bed in the morning. Hopefully you get out of the bed in the morning. Maybe some days you don't, because whatever. But it's something you're already doing. So maybe it's when you put your feet on the ground and you say, I am capable. And that takes no additional effort, right? So if you have your sticky note right there, I am capable. or whatever your I am is, the more you can just add it to something you're already doing, the easier it's going to be to do. So, kind of in summary, what is neuroplasticity? It is our brain's ability to create new things, create new pathways, rewire our old patterns, and create new ones. At any age, you can be 90 years old doing this. And our brains are just so resilient. And habits can be redesigned with awareness, intention, and repetition. And small, consistent shifts are so powerful over time. That's what adds up. That's what creates change. Rewarding yourself, small habits, all of that stuff. Wayne Dyer, who I love his work. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he has a saying. He's like, you are not stuck where you are unless you decide to be. Right? Like, let that sink in. You are not stuck where you are unless you decide to be. And think about, I know a lot of people will talk about weight loss with this. They'll say, you know what, I've tried everything. I just can't lose weight. Well, if you think that, guess what? You're going to be stuck. But you don't have to be stuck unless you decide to be stuck. So using all of these powerful tools of neuroplasticity, you can rewire your brain. So I like to go through with people just like a couple of like brief things. Write down, what is the old habit that you want to change? What's the new habit you are creating? Not that you want to, you are creating. And why does it matter to you? Why is this change important? And what is your I am statement? These tools and understanding how this works it's life-changing. Like, it's such a game changer. I can't even tell you. And if you put these into practice, I would love to hear how this worked for you. If you have questions, if you run into any obstacles or whatnot, I would love to hear from you. So please, you can reach out to me on Facebook or Instagram, or my email is michelle@mbwliving.com, because I love to hear transformational stories. And if you need some accountability, I always do 45-minute discovery calls with people to see how I might be able to help you create this habit, give you some accountability, and get you to where you want to be. Because friends, you can live a life by design, by your choosing. You can be the director of your life. You don't need to just be reacting. And you can do anything you want by setting intention, repetition, and being kind to yourself. Again, being kind and gracious to yourself is what's going to help you get there. So I believe in you. I have faith in you. I hope you have an amazing day, and I will talk to you soon. Cheers, friends. Bye.